there! Welcome to today's book talk. Come join us!
Hi, welcome. The book we'll be discussing today is The Boy in the Striped Pajamas. The Boy in the Striped Pajamas is a historical fiction novel by John Boyne set during the Holocaust, focusing on the fictional life of a boy named Bruno. Bruno is a charming and curious 9-year-old who happens to be the son of the German Nazi commander. One day, Bruno arrives home to find his maid is packing up all his things, and he soon finds out that they will be leaving their comfortable home in Berlin once they move to Outwith, as Bruno calls it. He sees that there are a bunch of people in striped pajamas on the other side of the tall fence, standing as far as the eye can see in their backyard. Bruno struggles to make this cold place his home. Despite his resistance to change, Bruno ends up finding a friend in a lonely place. They were able to overcome boundaries placed between them and create a beautiful connection.
There are many things we enjoyed about Boyne's writing style, including diction, simile, and more. We enjoyed the simple viewpoint. The novel was written in third person, yet the reader still sees the events happening from Bruno's perspective. It is enjoyable for the reader to see the events through the innocence that Bruno has, while still understanding the complexities of the plot.
However, this element can also present a struggle for the reader. For example, if Bruno does not understand a word, then the text will not reference what the actual word means, but rather how Bruno sees it or hears it. In the text, Bruno pronounces Auschwitz, outwith, which can be confusing to the reader if they're not familiar with the place. They might not understand what is being referenced.
The overall use of irony stood out as well. How the son of a soldier and leader of the Nazis was so kind and had such a wonderful friendship with a boy who is a Jewish prisoner. Furthermore, we appreciated the overall euphemism of the tone. It was positive even as the novel featured dark topics like the Holocaust.
While reading the book, I particularly liked the development of the side characters, for example, Pedro the butler and Maria the maid. While they may have only seemed to play a minor part in the story, they actually provided really good context to what was happening. In addition, their backstories gave insight into the other characters' personalities. For example, Pavel showed the reality of what was happening to the Jews, how they were mistreated and forced from their lives into slavery and servitude. Also, I enjoyed the conclusion of the novel, which ties everything together nicely and reinstated the key motif of equality.
A character that I really appreciated was Bruno's grandmother. While being sassy and dramatic, she showed her grandchildren unconditional love. Not only that, but she stands up for what is right in the novel. She recognizes that what is going on in Germany is wrong and does not support her son, Bruno's father, in moving to Auschwitz to work at the concentration camp there. Unlike Bruno's mother, she refuses to be silent in submission as the world around her is corrupted in the name of patriotism.
Speaking of Bruno's mother, the mother was possibly one of the most aggravating characters of all. It was not so much her actual personality. Well, actually, it was. But also, more so, her responses to situations around her. In specific, instead of voicing her opinions more clearly on why she thought moving was wrong, she acted like a child and pouted and drank. Not like a child, but like just drank. And took a lot of naps, setting a bad example for her children while also preaching rules which she did not follow. Overall, she chose to be a submissive wife instead of standing up for what was right.
Another character I disliked was Lieutenant Kotler. Not only does he treat the prisoners with such great disrespect and cruelty, going as far as to kill a beloved and kind character, Pavel, at the dinner table in front of the children. He is rude to Bruno, calling him little man. What is more, it is strongly implied that he has an affair with Bruno's mother.
The point I really didn't like was that when we were both reading the book, we noticed it was taking an extremely long time to reach the main event of Bruno meeting Shmuel. It was not the writing which bothered us, but rather the extensive side stories, taking up half the book before the main plot even began to escalate. Once we did reach it, though, the author did a great job of using the boys' friendship to display various themes.
Speaking of themes! The theme, the justification of evil action, can blur people's moral compass, is represented in the following scene. Grandfather was very proud of his son when he saw him in his new uniform, but Grandmother was the only one who seemed unimpressed. "I wonder, is this where I went wrong with you, Ralph?" she said. "I wonder if all the performances I made you give as a boy led you to this, dressing up like a puppet on a string." "Now, Mother," said Father in a tolerant tone, "you know this isn't the time." "Standing there in your uniform," she continued, "as if it makes you something special, not even caring what it means really, what it stands for." "This is a party, Mother," said Father with a sigh, "and it's Christmas. Let's not spoil things." "Oh, will you listen to yourself?" cried Grandmother. "Which one of you is the most foolish, I wonder?" The theme, the justification of evil actions can blur people's moral compass, is heavily seen through Bruno's father. He allows himself to justify the horrendous acts of cruelty and violence against the Jews in the name of patriotism. He even tells Bruno that the Jews on the other side of the fence are not people at all. His actions are so awful that Shmuel wonders how such a man can have a son who is so friendly and kind like Bruno.
The next theme, all humans are created equal, is also represented very heavily in the text presented here.
"Hey, you," he shouted, then adding a word that Bruno did not understand. "Come over here, you." He said the word again, and something about the harsh sound made Bruno look away and feel ashamed to be a part of this at all. Pavel came towards them, and Connor spoke to him insolently, despite the fact that he was young enough to be his grandson. "Take this little man to the storage shed at the back of the main house. Lined up along the side wall are some old tires. He will select one, and you are to carry it wherever he asks you. Is that understood?" Pavel held his cap before him in his hands and nodded. Situations like that always made Bruno feel very uncomfortable because, in his heart, he knew that there was no reason to be impolite to someone, even if they did work for you. There was such a thing as manners, after all.
This theme is evident throughout the whole book, as Jews and workers are constantly treated poorly due to assumptions and prejudice, to the point where they're not even seen as human. Bruno can tell, despite the lies surrounding him, that all people are created equal and deserve an equal chance at a good life.
Our next and final theme is that innocence can overcome boundaries. This is represented in the scene that you are about to see. And as often as he watched the people, all the different kinds of people in their striped pajamas, it had never really occurred to him to wonder what it was all about. What exactly was the difference, he wondered to himself, and who decided which people wore the striped pajamas and which people wore the uniforms? "Well, if that's the case," said Bruno, "and if I had a pair of striped pajamas too, then I could come over on a visit and no one would be any the wiser." Shmuel's face brightened up and he broke into a wide smile. "Do you think so?" he asked. "Would you do it?" "Of course," said Bruno. "It would be a great adventure, our final adventure. I could do some exploring at last." Seen through the eyes of Bruno, the cold world he lives in is shown light as he takes things not as they are, but as they should be. He does not look down on other humans because of uncontrollable factors. Instead, he shows love and kindness to all, overcoming the ignorance of the rest of the country.
We strongly recommend this book for all ages, but it might be more enjoyable for more mature readers who understand the context of the book. All the same, though, it carries important themes and lessons that I believe, and we believe, that everyone should know. Upon first glance, the writing is simple, but it actually has a very powerful impact on those reading it. Bringing both laughter and tears, The Boy in the Striped Pajamas drives the reader into a far-reaching friendship, despite the turmoil of the world around them.
We're ready!
No, we're not. No, it's not easy, sis.
That's good. Okay. Well, how the son of a soldier and leader of the Nazis was so kind and
That's not like the one we had in the alphabet. Ready?
going on in Germany is wrong and does not support her son, Bruno's father.
Transition!
Let's start.
Thank you!
Yes!
Thank you!
The theme, okay. The theme,